This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity Podcast. I am thrilled today to be joined by Liz Hutson. Liz is one of our regular guests. She's going to talk to us today about a subject that's near and dear to anybody, or should be near and dear to everybody. She's going to talk to us about career pivots. This is important whether you have yourself in the workforce, children in the workforce. Almost all of us think about this at some time or another. So thrilled to get Liz Hutson's take on this today. Liz, let me ask you to take it away. Let me tee you up and ask you for some of your thoughts about, workplace pivots and how to look at careers and more.
Absolutely. Thanks, Scott. So great to talk with you today. This is something, like you say, Scott, all of us are considering at some point. There's times in our careers where we just get stagnant in what we're doing. Maybe we've outgrown the role, or maybe we're starting to get curious about something else, interested in something else. And when we're comfortable in our current state, our job or project or whatever it is, contemplating doing something different can be really scary. And I think sometimes when that fear creeps in, it's so easy to get immobilized and then not take any action. It's really difficult to find the courage to reinvent yourself, get outside your comfort zone, do something different. And it's hard work to transition. So a lot of times we don't do anything, which by the way is also a decision. But when we go ahead and get the ball moving and see that pivot all the way through, the outcomes from that can be really profound. That's what I experienced when I moved from the corporate world in 2011 and transitioned into consulting, now coming up on 13 years. And so, some of the lessons that I learned in there is what I thought we'd talk about today.
You made a massive career pivot. Tell people about your career pivot and how you got the wherewithal, the guts, the audacity to make that pivot. Because so many people think they're stuck and can't make a pivot. You made a giant successful one. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was in the corporate world for more than a decade, was very comfortable, enjoyed. I just assumed I would retire in that space. But a seed was planted, and I won't get into the details of what it was that started the idea, but the idea was there of like, what might something outside of this corporate setting look like? And so once I decided I wanted to do something different, what do I do next? Well, I think it's important that we take some time to diverge. And when I say diverge, I mean just allowing some time and some space for thought and brainstorming. I think a lot of times we try to rush to that very quick answer. And when we do that, we start to narrow and limit the thinking and the options. We're going to get to nice and easy reactive solutions versus the really profound strategic ones. So once we make that decision, we're going to make that change, allow for divergence. And Scott, you and I have talked about this a number of times, but I think where we spend time on this is getting alone, getting quiet. I called it my me retreat, right? Back in 2011, I got alone with some books, a notebook with my thoughts, and I really started to dream up ideas. And the three filters that I always use for myself when I'm working on projects with my clients, whatever it is what are the unique strengths that the person or the company has to offer, right? What am I really good at? What am I uniquely known for? And then the second thing is, what are the passions? What is it that I love? What are my passion areas? What are topics that don't even feel like work because of my interest level in them? And then that third area is, what are those meaningful solutions, right? You could have strengths and you can have passions, but if there isn't an audience for it, it doesn't really help, right? Yeah, like how might this serve others? So for me, like I said, I took my me retreats and I started to come up with ideas that were around invention, teaching, book writing, and consulting was one of them as well. And I didn't need a firm business plan. I just wanted to kind of explore that using those three filters of strategy. And it didn't need to be fully baked. I just wanted to explore that and bump that up against those filters.
Tell us again those three filters. For anybody taking notes or listening at home, tell us those three filters.
Yep. The first one is your strengths, unique strengths. What is it that you're really, really good at, uniquely known for? Second thing is passions. What is it that you love? What are your passion areas? And the third area is, where do those meet and converge as meaningful solutions to the customer, to your audience, just to others in general, those three areas.
Thank you very, very much. And so let me ask you a question. Any other advice you'd give to, either a mid-20s person or a mid-50s person about sort of making these pivots? Any other advice you'd give to somebody?
100%. Two kind of critical points to this. So while we're saying diverge, get broad with this, we also need to set some deadlines, right? Because if while we set some space to give the idea space to brew and grow, if we're not really disciplined, that procrastination can derail that plan. I think when we're making big pivots like this in our career that don't have extrinsic deadlines, we need to kind of put them on ourselves. We need to kind of put something on there that gives a little bit of a almost a panic about it. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves getting caught up in really trivial activities, right? Mindless social media scrolling or tactical side projects, to-do lists. And then all of a sudden we're moving, I rephrased this to a friend just yesterday, we're going to be moving sand instead of moving boulders. And if we're not careful, we're going to get caught up in those tactical side projects. And we just have to have a lot of discipline to get those things across the line, right? We have to have a tremendous amount of discipline. So I think putting that deadline piece in there.
So let me take a step back. What you're really good at, what you have a passion for, and what there's some market for, some need for. And then second is putting deadlines on yourself as you really start to think through these things and giving yourself space to think through these things rather than jumping to the next thing. And then you're going to give one more piece of advice. Let me let you jump in on that.
Yeah, the last piece then is to go ahead, converge. So we said diverge, set some deadlines, go ahead and converge on what that's going to be. Get started and then refine it as you go. I think a lot of times we get stuck in waiting for perfection and having things totally baked out before we get started. And my proposal would be, if the idea lines up with those three filters that we just talked about, go ahead and get it started before it's 100% ready. Because otherwise, I think we're going to spin on something for a really long time, making it perfectly right. But if we wait until it's perfect, we're never going to get started. And so my mantra is always do it scared, get started, and you can refine it as you go.
I love that. Do it scared, get started, refine it as it goes.
Yeah.
Love that. Liz, I want to thank you as always for joining us on the Becker Private Equity Podcast. It's always great to visit with you. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott. Great to talk with you.